Yes lads, what is going on? Welcome back to another Sorare video. Today we're going to be looking at my strategies for this upcoming Euro 2024 that we have on Sorare this summer. And yeah, thankfully Sorare are doing a massive international schedule for it, both for Copa America, which we're not really going to cover in this video, and of course the big one, the Euros. And yeah, I've been doing a bit of prep work as far as getting my teams ready for this summer. And I thought I would make a little video just going through, how I'm looking right now as far as squad depth wise, what I'm going to be running, as far as players go, and just having a little overview of what Sorare mentioned in their latest blog. And so, yeah, like I said, there's two international competitions going on. We have Copa America and the European Championships. Over $200,000 in total cash prizes between both of them. Majority going towards the Euros just because it is a bigger tournament realistically. So the international comps will be 7 game weeks long. And what is nice, I think, is the All-Star Under 23 and the cap modes will still be ongoing, whilst the international competitions are going ahead as well. So you can play both or either or. 130,000 for the European comp, 70,000 for the America comps. Of course, there's cards on offer and reward boxes. Now, there's no points cap, which is great. Normally for these type of tournaments, we do get some sort of points cap on the teams, but we don't. The biggest one for me is the no in-season requirement, meaning that it doesn't matter what season your card is, as long as it's in that right scarcity, you can play it, man. And then we get down to the new temporary game week schedule. Now, game week 1 to game week 8. If we move over to Sorare data into their lineup builder, so game week 485, which is June 14th to the 19th, is what coincides with game week 1. So effectively, game week 1 is game week 485, game week 2 is game week 486, and so on and so forth. And so you can prep your teams, if you have Sorare Data Star membership, you can, go in and do all that fun stuff. But yeah, I've kind of been, playing around with some of the fixtures and combinations of players that I can get into that first initial game week. But yeah, because the fixtures are all over the place, during the summer, they have had to change some of the start and end dates of these game weeks to kind of coincide with, the international tournament, which, makes sense. As far as the prize pools go, I can't believe how good this semi-pro European Championship prize pool looks for limited and common. So this is for the first 3 game weeks. The winner's going to win 500 quid and a star rare. And down here, how do you play semi-pro? This competition is only open if you have a maximum of 10 pro cards in your collection. Lineup consists of 4 common cards and 1 limited. So if you have 10 or less cards in your Sorare gallery and, a couple of them are playing in the Euros, you can play 4 common cards, which everybody has. As long as you have, a decent limited to go in there, you're going to be in with a chance of winning, honestly, I think incredible prizes for the amount that you have to stake, if that makes sense. And so if you're really, really new watching this and you don't have any cards at all, or maybe you have 1 or 2 cards, maybe you don't have any Euro cards, for example, and you're looking to pick 1 or 2 up, I think this is a really interesting sort of starting place for the summer, to be honest, because the amount of prizes that are on offer in relation to how many cards you need to play, you basically need 1 limited card. As long as they have a fixture, as long as they play in the Euros, of course, as long as they're going to score you some points, you've got half a chance in this tournament. And so, yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing that Sorare putting on, a semi-pro version. This is going into the actual limited version. So again, game week 1, 2, and 3. Prize is obviously a little bit better just because you're going to need, 5 limited cards to play in there. The rare one looks pretty interesting as well. First place gets $1,500 for the first 3 game weeks and a star rare. Of course, boxes as well for the top 25%. And then super rare, top prize of 2,000 and then limited 2,500. Yeah, I already have the depth to play super rare for this European Championship. And so rare is where I'm going to be targeting. Now, I haven't gone out and just bought a load of cards for this tournament specifically. I am using a lot of cards that I've either bought previously, won previously throughout the season, but I have added a few bits just to strengthen what I've got going on already. So I've got 15 rare cards. The goal for me, because I already have 2 goalkeepers that should start for their country, which is Diogo Costa, which as you can see, I paid an absolutely incredible amount of money for over 2 years ago, and Bart Verbruggen, who actually has been named as the #1 goalkeeper for the Dutch national side, which is great. They're both under 23 still. Costa will be under 23 until July. The fact that I have 2 playing goalkeepers, of course, opens up, the possibilities of me making 2 teams, right? They both play on relatively good teams. You'd like to think that, Portugal and the Netherlands have a half-decent chance of getting out of their groups. And so my thinking going into this tournament, on paper, you could play 3 lineups in each scarcity. Of course, if I had, the goalkeepers to do so. I only have 2. And so for me, it's kind of a thing where I'm going to try and build 1 really good lineup every game week for the Euros out of the, the 15 cards I have here, depending on fixtures, depending on fitness, etc. If I think I can field a half decent second team, then I'll probably throw it into the Euro comp. The beauty about this summer is we still have Cap 240, where you can still win cash without having to actually play against, compete against any other users. You're just competing against yourself. You set a target. Do you think you can hit over 270 points? Okay, if you do, you win $15. If you think you can hit over 340, then you win $80. This is a rare level, of course. If you think you can hit over 390 points, which is very, very hard to do, I think you could win $250. So, and the big thing about that is the Cap 240 competition goes in August. Now, I don't know whether it goes on the start of August or the end of August, but regardless, we know it's going in August. Like I mentioned, I've started building a few teams here just to gauge what primary lineup I could go in with, for this upcoming European competition for the first game week. And Portugal have a great fixture for the first game. They play the Czech Republic. And so the Ruben Diaz, Diogo Costa defensive stack, I'm hoping can come away with a clean sheet. I have a decent amount of midfielders to choose from between Pedri, Szoboszlai, Zaire Emery, Modric even though Modric played against Spain in that first game. But I have a few decent options there, depending on, again, fitness, availability, whether they're predicted to start or not. And then I've just recently brought in Giroud, who I bought about 3 months ago now, on that LAFC news, actually, because I do like playing in the MLS. And so, yeah, the fact that Giroud, this is his last international tournament, I felt with the price I got him at the time, it kind of made sense for me. I can use him throughout the Euros. After the Euros, he's going to go over to LAFC and play in the challenger competitions for me. And so I'm kind of happy to stick with him for this European competition, obviously playing on a great team. There's no guarantees. I don't think he plays every game, to be honest. Again, it's so hard to really predict. Everyone's trying to predict who's going to start, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. And, there's so many things that can go wrong in these competitions because games come thick and fast. Players get injured, players get tired. There's rotations. There's lots of things to take into consideration. So I don't think if you have just 5 cards, you can't just expect those 5 cards to start, week in, week out. And so for me, I'm not going into every game week during this European competition thinking, okay, I'm going to have 2 amazing lineups every game week out of my 15 cards because realistically, I'm probably not going to if we're talking really good matchups every game week. I'm tapering my expectations a little bit in that I'm really happy just to play one good Euro lineup. And that secondary team, which, let's say, for example, Costa plays in my good team or my first European Championship team. And then I have Bart Verbruggen left as a goalkeeper, right? I have the choice there to really play him in the European competition, or I could play him in Cap 240 potentially, alongside other players. And try and, win some threshold money that way. Instead of competing against all the really good lineups that there's going to be in that European competition, which will be, of course, aiming for that $1,500. If I think my team is able to hit the top 10 maybe or top 20, which is $170 plus a tier 1, then of course I'm going to play my team in European Championship Rare. But if I don't think both of my lineups could hit top 20, top 30, I might play my second lineup in Cap 240 and try and hit the middle threshold because that's worth $80 in itself. If I reach 340 points in Cap 240 Rare, I get $80. Never mind a card as well, potentially. It might not be a tier 1, to be fair. Like I'm trying to compare, 21st to 30th here, which wins $90 plus a tier 1. Yeah, that is better than $80 plus whatever card you'd win in Cap 240. But how hard and how high the score is going to be to reach that, in these European competitions. So it's hard to gauge really, what type of scores are going to be winning these big prizes in these competitions. If I don't think my first lineup can really get into the top 30, 40, then I always have the option to play my team or my secondary team, which for the most part will be led by Bart Verbruggen and any other outfielders that don't get into the main 5. So a few hours ago, I did bring in Viktor Taganikov from the Ukraine, of course, plays for Girona as well. He's a player that I've tracked for a while. I do have a Girona collection, and so I felt like it made sense that not only will I get, European utility from him for Ukraine, of course, next summer, there's rumours he might go to the Premier League as well. So whatever happens, I probably have a champion forward for next season as well. And that's one thing I don't really love doing. I don't want to just buy cards for the European competition, especially if I'm going to spend, a good amount of money on them. On the opposite end of that strategy is Duda. I paid like £11 for him. Look, will I use him in Champions next season for Hellas Verona? Maybe. He's not going to be my number 1 midfielder pick, but I spend 10 quid on him. He takes set pieces and penalties for Slovakia. Slovakia aren't in the toughest of groups, I don't think. I'm not saying they're going to definitely, reach the final rounds of the competitions, but I think for 1 or 2 game weeks within that group stage situation for them, I do think I will probably be using him in either, my really good lineup or, my secondary lineup with Bart. And so, yeah, for 11 quid, I don't mind taking that risk. And the thought of me not getting more utility out of him, after the Euros doesn't really scare me that much. Where if I was spending £83 on Taganikov just for 3 games potentially for the Ukraine, unless you've got money to blow, I just don't think it makes too much sense. Whereas my longer term outlook on him is, yeah, I get this immediate utility for Ukraine, but ultimately I get a player that fits my collection bonus because I have Girona cards already. And he's somebody that probably is going to be a decent champion forward next season. And I do have some champion cards, which I've accumulated over the season, which I want to play next season. So he kind of fits that, longer term vision for me if I'm going to go out and spend, a little bit more than 10 quid. So yeah, I don't really know if I'm completely done yet buying cards. I might buy the odd other piece here and there. I'm not going to be spending a crazy amount of money on that. I'm going to be trying to do it on a budget. I won't be buying any more goalkeepers. It would just be a bit of depth pieces, basically. Maybe another defender or maybe another midfielder or two. Like I said, 1 or 2 injuries. If Giroud and Taganikov get injured, I'm forwardless, right? So bear that in mind. These competitions will throw curveballs at you. And yeah, you just have to, of course, adapt where possible. But yeah, my strategy is basically play my best lineup in that European competition, every game week that I can. But if I feel like my second lineup isn't good enough to compete, then I'll just throw it into Cap 240. That's kind of how I'm looking at it this summer. Like I said, Cap 240 is going in August. And so I think it is really important to kind of take what you can from it. Because yeah, next season, the only way you're going to be able to win cash is from the in-season competitions. And you're going to need in-season cards to do that. Right now, Cap 240, you can play any player you want effectively, as long as they have a game in that game week. So let me know your thoughts, lads, on my current collection of European Championship players for this summer. Let me know where you think my biggest hole is. Is it forward? Is it midfielder? Is it defender? Throw some suggestions out there for maybe some cheaper options for me to have a little look at. Hope you have a great day, lads. Hope you have a great game week, and I shall see you guys in the next video.